Can you hear me now, guys? Can you hear me now? So, okay, guys. Okay. So, I will just repeat what I have said. Sorry for the technical details. Uh, I'm Vipul Mehta, BTech IIT Bombay. If you have Physical Chemistry by Wiley Publication, I am the author of that book. These are some of the live class best practices. Join the class on time, watch the complete lecture, attend all the classes. In case you miss any class, then make sure that you watch the recording. Come prepared for the class. Be polite with your peers, your teachers, your friends. Be polite in life. Do not spam, do not use any uncivilized language. There is a My Doubts tab near the chat. So in case you have any question which are academic, without disturbing the class, you can ask the question on the My Doubts tab. Okay. If you are watching this lecture on browser, then you can use Chrome or Firefox. If you are watching it on mobile, then you can use Android mobile with version 6 and above. Make sure that your internet speed is greater than equal to 5 Mbps. Okay. The micro course, which is for class 12th or droppers batch, in which we will take around 13 lectures. I will be the teacher for chemistry. The idea is to briefly revise the important topics which you have finished in class 11, so that you know the transition from 11 to 12th is pretty uh, easy. Okay. Today we are going to study coordination compounds. Okay, so when I say coordination compounds, what do I mean by coordination compounds? Uh, we are going to study about a family of compounds. Hi MJ. And this is one part of inorganic chemistry that you can simply understand, and basically without learning anything, you can actually understand and give the paper. Okay. Hi Snehanjali, how are you? So let's start the day today. Okay. All of you keep your pen and paper handy because I will be asking you questions in between. Okay. Starting with, what are double salts? So for example, I say KCl.MgCl2.6H2O is a double salt. So if I take an aqueous solution, double salt will all break into ions. It will give you these ions. Yes or no? Hi, good evening, Pierre. Similarly, this is the potash alum. If I put it in water again, hi KL, it will dissolve to give you all the ions. So basically, when I have a double salt, I will get, hi MH, I will get the test for K plus. I will get the test positive for Cl minus. Okay, and the first part, yes, everything you will see it today, and for Mg2 plus also. So basically I will get a positive test for all three. Similarly, I will get a test for K positive, Al3 plus and SO42 minus here. They will dissociate completely. Yes. So basically all the ions present in double salt, you will be able to test it. Now there is a difference between a double salt and a coordination compound. This is a coordination compound. If I dissolve this, basically there will be a box and there will be a sulfate ion. So I will not be able to test for copper 2 plus. Copper 2 plus, will I get any test? No, I will not. So let's understand what is a coordination compound. Hi Dipanshu. So copper here is in plus 2. Okay, so I will just say copper is in plus 2. So basically this is known as the central metal atom. So I'm writing it as central metal atom. Okay, yes, you are right. Now there are 4 ammonia. All of these ammonias will have a lone pair. So this is a lone pair. So I can say this is a positive charge, so I call it as central metal atom. It is electron deficient. If it is electron deficient, can I say that it is going to act as Lewis acid? Yes J. Yes Ji. Similarly, this is electron rich. Very good AK. Electron rich, so this is Lewis base. So basically this can donate electron. So basically all these are coordinate bonds. Okay, and basically this ammonia, which is electron rich, is known as ligand, the one which donates the electron to the central metal atom. Now since they are connected through coordination, through coordinate bonds, this is known as coordination sphere. So this whole box, so if I say this SO4 2 minus, so basically this is known as ionization sphere. So this is ionization sphere, and this is coordination sphere. Coordination sphere. So there is a central metal atom, there are coordinate bonds. Then there is coordination number. Coordination number of central metal atom. What is coordination number? Coordination number is number of electron pair accepted by the central metal atom from the ligand. So can you tell me what will be the coordination number in this case? So this is one electron pair, this is another electron pair, this is another electron pair, this is another electron pair. So can I say that? Very good, JI. So I can say coordination number in this case coordination number is 4. Simple enough. So this is a coordination compound. Now this coordination sphere do not break when you put it in water. So that's the reason you will not be able to get copper 2+. No. If it is bidentate, and let's say there are 4 ligands, one ligand is going to give you 2 electron pairs. So 4 will give you 8. So the answer will be 8 in that case, NB. We'll come to that. Coordination number I have explained, central metal atom I have explained, ligand I have explained. What is denticity? Number of lone pair donated per ligand. So for example, if I say there is water and we only have one lone pair per ligand which is donated, so I can say here denticity is equal to 1, or I can say this is monodentate. If I say it is bidentate, what do you mean by bidentate? What do you mean by bidentate? That 2 lone pair per ligand are donated. Something on these lines. So we'll cover this. So basically these are the basics of coordination compounds. Okay. Now initially there was something which was known as Werner's theory. So Werner's theory said that each central metal atom, so this is a central metal atom, each central atom will have a primary valency and a secondary valency. PV is known as primary valency and SV is known as secondary valency. Now if I ask you what is primary valency, in today's term primary valency is just oxidation number. Notes you can download it. Yes RJ. Secondary valency is nothing but the coordination number. So primary valency is the oxidation number, secondary valency is the coordination number. So for example, if I give you this compound CONH3 3Cl3, if I ask you what is primary valency, this is +3. What is secondary valency? Coordination number is 6. So this is 6. Now these primary valencies are denoted by dots. They are non-directional. When this theory was decided for the first time, they said that the primary valency is governed by negative and positive ions only, because 0, the ions are neutral. In that case, they will not contribute to the oxidation number. Okay. Secondary valency are directional in nature. So they are directional in nature. And since they are directional in nature, all the ligands, positive, negative, neutral, during those times when Werner's theory was first decided, there were no positive ligands. So if you will read, why is primary valency? Because oxidation number is 3. Because the oxidation number is 3. Okay. Yes. No, positive were not. Water and ammonia were there. But this, for example, N2H5 positive, they were not there. Now let's say I have to find the primary and secondary valency without knowing oxidation number. So primary valency is by negative and positive ion. So this is a negative ion. This is neutral. So how many negative ion? 3, and the charge is -1. So primary valency is 3. So that is the reason if you see these dots, this denotes primary valency. Yes or no? Secondary valency, all the ligands, so positive, negative as well as neutral. So there will be 6. So I can see that these non-dotted lines, which are the white lines, are all secondary valency. So I can say secondary valency is this, and primary valency is ... So there are 3 chlorines. Now these chlorines are contributing to primary valency as well. So you will have 3 chlorines with dots as well as the straight line. Yes or no? For example, if I give you a question for on similar something like this, CO NH3 4 Cl2 Cl. Okay, suppose I give you this question. Can you draw a diagram for this? What will be the primary valency in this case, secondary valency in this case? Can you draw? Secondary valency in the first case is 6, yes. Can you tell me the answer to this question now? If I draw cobalt, okay, what are the negative ions? This is negative and this is also negative. So negative dot 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 dot. Simple. If I ask you what is secondary valency, you will say all the things which are present inside the box. There are 6 things present inside the box. So 2 chlorines present inside the box and 4 ammonia. Yes or no? So can you tell me what is secondary valency? There are 5 or 6. There are 6 blue lines. So secondary valency is 6 and primary valency is 3. But these 2 chlorine will be for primary as well as for secondary. Simple enough. Yes or no? But now this is an outdated concept. Now we already know the concept of primary valency is nothing but oxidation number and secondary valency is nothing but coordination number. So in this case, oxidation number of cobalt is +3 and oxidation number, once you find the primary valency, and secondary valency is coordination number, so that is 6. Simple enough. Shall we proceed? Now, because secondary valencies are directional in nature, you will have stereoisomerism, because it is like, what is the basic tenet of stereoisomerism? That in space, the orientations are different. So, yes, these coordination compounds can show. What about the Cl in ionization sphere? This is that Cl. The one in ionization sphere, I am marking it with pink. Can you see this? There is only a dotted line. CONH3 4CO3 Cl. Okay, so CONH3 so this will be 1NH3, 2NH3, 3NH3, 4NH3. Now CO3 very rarely, for example in this case if I take it, it is very rarely a bidentate ligand. So this will be a bidentate ligand now. Okay, so this is all, and now I will also draw dots. So this dot 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 and Cl will be dot dot dot. Simple, Snehanjali? No, ideally it should not be chelating because it is a 4-membered ring BP. That's the reason. It's not going to be a stable one. That's the reason I told Snehanjali. Okay. Fair enough. Shall we proceed? After the lecture, Amazon Academy app has a lot of questions. Try and solve those. There will be a DPP given to you. Solve that DPP. Okay. There are going to be some questions. CO3 2 minus, right? Put one oxygen more. Okay. Fair enough. Put something like this. Good. Yes, HS minus, not HS. Okay. So at times they will ask you questions about molar conductivity. So if they ask you questions about molar conductivity, as the number of ions increases, molar conductivity increases. Okay. And if the number of ions are same, as charge increases, molar conductivity increases. So for example, if I give you a question, let's say this is A, this is B, this is C, and this is D. I am asking you about the molar conductivity of these cases. So for example, if I put this in water, I will get a box. In this case, I will get a box with 3 plus and 3 chloride. So I will get 4 ions. In this case, I will get a box with 2 plus and 2 chloride ions. So I will get 3 ions. In this case, I will get a box plus Cl minus. So I will get 2 ions. And here I will get 1 ion or 0 ion. In this case D, I will get 1 or 0. How many ions are there in case D? How many ions are in 0? Yes, you cannot break it. No, it's not 1. There is no charge, no ion. You cannot break this box, right? 0. Yes, Samir, you are right. Okay. So if I ask you molar conductivity, I can say A greater than B greater than C greater than D. But if I take this case, if I break this, I will get positive plus chloride, and if I break this, I will get. So this will be. Let me change it a bit. Suppose I give you this question, so this will be again positive. Let me put it like this. This is Cl2, and let me put sulfate here. Okay, let's say this is the question. So this is 2 positive plus sulfate ion. Okay. So this is the question. So now if I ask you number of ions, 2 here and 2 here, but if I ask you charge, here it will be +1 -1, and here it is +2 -2. So charge is greater in this case. So if the number of ions are same, then you have to look at the charge. So if I call this as compound A and if I call this as compound B, molar conductivity of A is less than B. Simple enough? Yes or no? So they can ask you a couple of questions on the basis of this. Can we solve it now? Okay. Can you do this question for me? Quickly. Question number 1. What is the primary valency and secondary valency in all these compounds? Very simple question. You can do it now. It's a homework. Try and solve this. There is going to be one mistake which you are going to do. Dipanshu is saying B, JB is saying C. A primary valency is 3. Okay. B primary valency is so this is your homework. You will get mixed answer in this. I'll tell you the answer to this question in the next class. Try and solve this. Okay, this is going to be a homework. Solve this question for me. Molar conductivity of CrH2O5ClSO4 and CrH2O4Cl2Cl. If one is X, one is Y, then X is equal to Y, X greater than Y, X less than Y. So write the answer and write your name after it. So answer followed by your name. Your time starts now. Aman, X greater than Y. Okay. Aman is saying X greater than Y. Okay. Bhadrakaksh B. Okay. Abhishek A. Navneet B. Aman C. Tanuj C. Bhadraksh. Sorry, my bad. Pratik A. Rishika B. Samutra B. Ria A. Okay, let's try and solve this. So if I take this compound, how will this compound break? This compound will break into this 2 positive plus sulfate ion. So I have 2 ions. Yes or no? If I take this compound, it will give me a box plus chloride ion. Again 2 ions. So number of ions are same. So if number of ions are same, we have to look at the charge. This is 2 positive, this is 1 positive. So charge of X greater than Y. Therefore electrical conductivity of, or I can say molar conductivity of X greater than Y. Yes or no? B is the right answer. Yes, Varsha, you are correct. Can we do the next question now? They ask you to divide the types of ligands. So the ligands can be classified on a couple of ways. The first way is to compare them on the basis of charge. So a ligand can be positively charged, it can be neutral, or it can be negatively charged. Now I am saying to remember it with names only because you will be using it in IUPAC nomenclature in the next class. If it is a positive ligand, then it will always end with EM. So for example, NO plus nitrocelium or nitrosonium. If I say NO2 plus, it is nitronium. If I say N2H5 plus, it is hydrasium. Now positive ligands, you will not come across any other than these. Okay. If I say neutral ligand, there is going to be no special ending. So for example, water is aqua, or I can say aquo. Amine is double M. Okay. If I say PY, it is pyridine. If I say EN, it's ethylene diamine. If I say CO, carbonyl. If I say NO, nitrosyl. If I say CS, thiocarbonyl. If I say NS, it is thionitrosyl. Okay. So make sure that these things are going to be useful for IUPAC nomenclature also. So you try and remember this page. Okay. If it is a negative ligand, it ends with O. So for example, if it is F minus, I will say fluoro or florido. Cl minus chloro or chlorido. Br minus bromo or bromido. I minus iodo or iodido. Cyano, cyanido or cyano C. Isocyano or cyano N. So these are ambidentate ligands. What do you mean by ambidentate? So if I take cyanide, I can donate the electron from carbon, or I can donate the electron from nitrogen. So in this case, I will say cyanide C, that means the donation is done through C atom. If I say cyano N, that means donation is done through N. Similarly, if I say SCN minus, donation through S means thiocyanato S. If I donate it through M, thiocyanato N. Similarly, nitrito N, nitrito O. OH is hydroxide, so hydroxido or hydroxo, oxido or oxo, peroxido or peroxo, superoxido or superoxo. N3 minus, yes, you will not come across anything other than these, Na. Nitrido N3 minus 1, so that is azido. NH2 minus amido, NH2 minus is imido. S2 minus sulfido or thiosulfato, thiosulfato. So all the negative ligands will end with O. So if I say OX2 minus, that is C2O42 minus, it is oxalato. If I say GLY minus, it is glycinato. Yes. So EDTA is 4 minus. So ethyl, I will write about EDTA. Don't worry. I have written it. If I say DMG minus, it is going to be dimethyl glyoxymato. So this classification is on the basis of charge of the ligand. The second classification is on the basis of denticity. So if I say it's a monodentate ligand, that means number of lone pair donated per ligand is equal to 1. So for example, if I take water, NO, CO, ammonia, CO32 minus, Cl minus, F minus, I minus, Br minus, all of them are monodentate. It can be Snehanjali, but most commonly it will be 4 minus. Okay. If it is 3 minus, then you will have a pentadentate, sorry. If I say bidentate ligand, now understand what do you mean by bidentate. So for example, I say this is the ligand. Can you see this ligand? NH2, CH2, CH2, NH2. This is the ligand. Now I have one lone pair from this side and I have one lone pair from this side, and both of them donate. I will come to it, BP. Just a second. Can you tell me what will be the number of members of this ring? If a ring is formed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if a 5-membered ring is formed, it is correct. So basically, I will say they are donating 2 lone pair per ligand. So it is bidentate. Suppose I take PN, that is propylene diamine. So if I say, let's say this is the ligand. Now there is one lone pair here and there is one lone pair here. If I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a 5-membered ring which is formed. Yes, it is possible. If I say oxalato, So I say this is one lone pair being donated, this is another lone pair being donated. I will say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If a 5 or 6 membered ring is formed, I think it is going to be stable. Similarly, if I say there are going to be 3 lone pair per ligand which are donated, it is going to be tridentate. If I say 4 lone pairs like this are donated per ligand, it is known as tetradentate. If I take EDTA, there are 6 lone pair, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So basically I can say that there are going to be 6 lone pairs which are donated here per ligand. So this is hexadentate. So it is ethylene diamine tetraacetato. Why O? Because it is negative. Simple enough. Now what do you mean by flexidentate? So I'm writing note. What do you mean by flexidentate? For example, if I tell you sulfate is typically monodentate, but sometimes denticity is equal to 2. So for example, if I say sometimes this will happen, this will donate, this will donate. So basically one lone pair and one lone pair here. So denticity is 2. But this is going to be unstable because it is 1, 2, 3, 4 membered ring. 4 membered rings are not stable. That is the reason it will switch again to single electron pair donation only, or denticity being 1. Same is with CO3 2 minus. Okay. Can you solve this question at home now? So basically you have to read NCERT for this. So I am giving you an assignment, read NCERT. Yes, angle strain is very high. Yes. Now what I am telling you is a very, very, very important concept. So please listen to this carefully. Okay. There are 2 types of ligands on the basis of bonding. One, a normal bond. How do a normal bond form? This is a central metal atom. A ligand donates the electron and the central metal atom accepts the electron. So this is what we have been doing. X minus, O2 minus, OH minus, H2O, everything. Simple enough. Yes or no? Hi. No, it is not field strength. It's simply a bond. So ligand has lone pair, it is donating. It's a Lewis acid, and central metal atom is a Lewis acid and ligand is a Lewis base. Now listen to me carefully. If I say we have a non-classical or synergic bonding, what do I mean by this? The ligand along the x-axis, let's say, form a sigma bond. Now once a sigma bond is formed, there are some electrons present in the central metal atom. They give the electron from the filled orbitals of central metal atom to vacant orbitals of ligand through pi bonds, which is known as back bonding. Yes or no? So this is known as synergic bonding. So due to this synergic bonding, what will happen? There are going to be some electrons which will enter the ligand, and due to which we will see some changes. So I will just explain you one case. Let's take the example of metal carbonyl. Okay. So metal carbonyl, this carbonyl is CO, that is the ligand. So that is a molecule. So these are molecular orbitals. Now the electrons are entering anti-bonding MOs because it is a 14 electron system. So 14 electron system, if I say after 14 electrons what all things are left, I will say the anti-bonding orbitals. So if I say the electrons will enter vacant anti-bonding orbitals, can you tell me in metal carbonyls if electrons from central metal atom will enter anti-bonding MO, of carbon monoxide, can I say that the bond order will decrease? Yes or no? So if I say the bond order will decrease, can I say that the CO bond length will increase? Yes or no? So as the extent of back bonding increases, this bond, which is metal carbon, will get strong, and the CO bond, it's like resonance. If I get more back bonding, this CO bond from triple bond will become double bond, or tend towards something between double and triple. So as the extent of back bonding increases, the metal carbon bond length decreases and the carbon oxygen bond length increases. Okay, now basically the back bonding is from metal, so basically bond order proportional to 1 by bond length. Yeah, yes, that is correct, BP. So if I say that back bonding depends on the metal because the metal is donating the electrons, can you tell me one thing? Higher is the negative charge on the central metal atom, more is the likelihood that it will donate electrons. If it will donate electrons, then I will say the extent of back bonding will increase, or I can say the CO bond length will increase. Yes or no? So for example, if I give you a question, NiCO4, COCO4 minus and FeCO4 2 minus. These are the three questions, okay? Three compounds given to you. You have to comment on metal carbon and carbon oxygen bond length in these cases. So first thing which you should do is, the oxidation number of nickel here is 0. The oxidation number of carbon monoxide here is -1, and here it is -2. So if I say the electron density on central metal atom is highest in Fe, cobalt or nickel, is highest in Fe, cobalt or nickel. If I say the electron density on the central metal atom, where is it highest? Fe. So the highest back bonding will occur in FeCO4. So higher is the back bonding, lower is the metal carbon bond length. So I can say that the metal carbon bond length will be such that if I call this as compound A, if I call this as compound B, and if I call this as compound C, I can say A greater than B greater than C. And here will be just opposite of this. AK, this metal, let's call it as central metal atom. This donates the electron, that is synergic bonding, to a ligand. Okay. Okay, AK. Now I say that as negative charge increases, this donation increases. Yes or no? Hi AV. Yes or no? AK, tell me your name. It's easy to communicate. So as the negative charge increases, this extent of back bonding will increase. So I will say back bonding increases. As back bonding will increase, whatever ligand is present, the bond between these two will become stronger. So can I say that the metal carbon bond length will decrease because the bond is stronger? At the same time, since these electrons are entering anti-bonding orbitals of the ligand, its bond order will decrease. So I can say that the CO bond length will increase. More number of electrons they will accept, more will be the resonance. More will be the resonance, this triple bond will convert to double bond. So the bond length will increase. Yes or no? It is just like resonance only, right? It is delocalization. Okay. Other examples can be, there can be a synergic bonding, for example, in PR3. Now, if I take PR3, let's say this is a bond which is formed from P to M. This is a synergic, this is a normal bond. Now, synergic bonding is like back bonding from metal to these vacant orbitals. Why do we have vacant orbitals? Because it is phosphorus. Phosphorus is vacant 3D. So can it accept the electrons? Yes, it will. So will it show synergic bonding? Yes, it will. Another example, if I take Z salt, so Z salt can be expressed as something like this: platinum, Cl3, eta2, C2H4. Can someone tell me what do we mean by eta2? It is organometallic. Yes, it is organometallic. Metal and organic compound. right? Can someone tell me what does eta 2 bridge bonding? No. See, whenever I have eta, that means a pi bonded system is used as a ligand. Okay. So if I say eta 2, I can say it's a 2-member pi bonded system. So what can be a 2-membered pi bonded system? No, it's not back bonding. Basically, ligand in this case I'm using is the ligand I'm using is an electron cloud. So if it is a pi bonded system which is 2-membered, it has to be double bond or triple bond. So if I take C2H4, this basically is parallel to the compound, perpendicular to the compound. So basically these 3 chlorides are in the plane. PtCl3 is a square planar compound. If it was PtCl4, it is square planar. Now one chlorine is removed. So this is chlorine, 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 these 3 in the plane, and C2H4 is perpendicular. Now this double bond is now donating the electron. So that is basically the fourth. Can you see this? Ligand to metal. Now this is basically synergic bonding. The blue line which I am showing, this is synergic bonding from platinum to C double bond C. So what will happen? This C double bond C will now get C dot 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 perpendicular to the page, right? So can I say that the CC bond length will increase? Yes or no? Because of synergic bonding. Similarly, if I take C2H2, C triple bond C, then again it will be C double bond C, something between C double bond C and C triple bond C. So again CC bond will increase. So if I give you a similar example, if I give you eta 5, can you tell me what does eta 5 means? What does eta 5 means? Eta means a pi bonded system is used. Eta 5 means a 5-membered pi bonded system is used. Can I say 5-membered pi bonded system can be something like C5H5 minus? So I can say, is it not an aromatic compound, which we have done already? Is it not something like this? So this is one aromatic compound, this is another aromatic compound. There are 2 rings and Fe2 plus is kept between them. So this is a sandwich compound. This is known as ferrocene. Similarly, if I say eta 6, can you tell me what is eta 6? Eta means pi bonded system. 6 means 6-membered pi bonded system which is used as a ligand. Okay. Can you tell me what it is going to be? So basically there are 2 benzene rings and there is chromium between them. So all these are organometallics, okay, and then there is synergic bonding also in some of them. Simple enough. So this is the third way of classification of ligands. Okay, this is known as dibenzene chromium or bisbenzene chromium. Another organometallics can be these. Okay, so can you tell me? Yes, NB. If I say Fe2CO9, it is something like these. These dotted are bridged. So basically this CO is between Fe and this. So these are bridged CO. Again, these are bridged. So there is one bridge, there is another bridge, there is another bridge. If I take Mn2CO10, then it is something like this. Okay. I will ask you a question, what is effective atomic number in this case? But before that, can you solve this question for me? What is the longest CO bond length amongst MnCO5, VCO6 minus? Bridged naming. Nomenclature we will do in the next class, NB. Not today. Okay. Can you solve this question for me? Which will have the longest CO bond? MnCO5, VCO6 minus, CrCO6 3 plus FeCO5. C. Jawar is saying C. Navneet is saying C. BP is saying VCO6 minus. Aman is saying C. B. We have done this. This oxidation number is 0. This is -1. This is +3. And this is 0. Yes or no? Yes or no? So I will say as the negative charge increases, extent of back bonding increases, carbon oxygen bond length decreases or increases. So answer will be B. We just did it. How can you write C? Write sorry. Aman, Animesh, write sorry. We just did it. So this is your homework now. Basically all the concepts are covered now, which can be done. Then there is something which is known as Sidgwick's effective atomic number. EAN is effective atomic number. If I say at effective atomic number, basically it denotes the total number of electrons which are present with the central metal atom. So if say the central metal atom has atomic number is equal to Z, these number of electrons it will have. Now say let's say its oxidation number is +1, so it has lost 1 electron, so it will be 26 minus 1, 25. So minus the oxidation number. It is accepting 2 lone pairs, so basically it is accepting 2 into 2, that is 4 electrons. So basically 2 into coordination number from the ligands. So these represents the total number of electrons which a central metal atom has. Now according to Sidgwick, if this number comes out to be the atomic number of a noble gas, for example 36 like krypton, 54 xenon, 86 radon, then the compound is stable. That is the theory. So if the effective atomic number which you are going to calculate, if it comes equal to the atomic number of a noble gas, then I will say the compound is stable according to Sidgwick's EAN theory. So for example, if I take the first compound NiCO4, I will say nickel is 0, Z is 28, oxidation number is 0. There are 4 carbon monoxide. 1 carbon monoxide donates 1 lone pair, so the coordination number is 4. And basically 4 is the coordination number, 4 into 2 is 8. So if I say what is Z minus OS plus Cn into 2, that will be 36. Is 36 equal to that of krypton? Yes, so the compound is stable. If I take this compound, I will say this is in +4. So Z minus oxidation number plus coordination number is 6 into 2 is equal to 54. 54 is that of xenon. So I will say this is stable. If I ask you to calculate for this compound, I will say this is +4. So this is Z minus +4 plus coordination number is 6 into 2 is equal to 86. Since it is 86, it is equal to radon. So I will say it is stable. So this way you can calculate. I am saying that this is according to Sidgwick. For example, in this case, this comes out to be 36 and this comes out to be 35. So according to Sidgwick, FeCN6 4- should be more stable. But in reality, FeCN6 3- is more stable. So it is not that Sidgwick will give you the right answer always. Okay. Because it is just a hypothetical theory. You are not using any basis. You are just using it like octet rule. If it is equal to octet, it's found to be stable. But there is no reason behind it. Okay. So obviously it has to have some flaws. Now, suppose I give you a question, Mn2CO10. If I ask you to find EAN in this case, okay. So Z of manganese is 25. Okay. Yes, that is what I told you. Bond length increases, decreases nahi. JB. If back bonding increases, CO bond length, because number of electrons entering the anti-bonding orbitals will increase. So bond order will decrease and CO bond length will increase. Okay. If I ask you to find the EAN in this case, can you tell me total number of electrons? There are 2's. So Z is equal to 25 into 2. So this will be 50. There are 10 carbon monoxide. No. 10 carbon monoxide. So basically I can say 10 carbon monoxide. So this will be 20. Plus there is one MN-MN bond. Yes. So one MN-MN bond is not taken into account. So there will be 2 electrons. So it will be 72 by 2, that is 36. But if I do it for MnCO5, let's say this question, can you find what is the value of X now? So if Z is 25 minus oxidation number plus 5 into 2, 35, and this is coming out to be 36. So that is the reason basically what is happening. This is going to dimerize. So can I say X is equal to 35 and Y is equal to 36? So this is going to be your answer. This is your homework. Okay. Calculate the EAN. How to solve it? Keep it nearest to 36. Okay. Now valence bond theory. What does valence bond theory suggest? That if there is a central metal atom, let's say these are orbitals of central metal atom, and there is a ligand. The valence orbitals of the ligands, just like we have done valence bond theory in chemical bonding, will overlap with the orbitals of the central metal atom to give you bonds. So basically, if the coordination number 2, you will have hybridization as sp, the shape will be linear. Coordination number 3, you will have hybridization is equal to sp2, shape will be trigonal planar. Coordination number 4, you will have dsp2 or sp3, the shape can be this or this. 5, shape is fixed, but the hybridization can be anything. 6, hybridization can be anything, shape can be this. So if in this case someone asks you about which compound is stable, you do not have any information. And B, for coordination number 4, 5 and 6, you cannot find the hybridization until and unless you are given total number of unpaired electrons or magnetic moment. So yes, there are going to be few flaws here. So because of these flaws, we now come to a new theory, which is the most important theory, which is crystal field theory. Okay. Now this, all of you pay extra attention, please. This is the most important part. Okay. Ready? All of you ready? Okay. So let's say all these ligands, octahedral complex means coordination number is equal to 6. Okay. Now consider each ligand to be a point. Okay. So if I say octahedral, let's say this is your Z axis, this is X axis, this is Y axis, this is Z axis. So there is, I'm putting 6 dots. This is 1 dot, this is 2nd dot, this is 3rd dot, this is 4th dot, this is 5th dot, and this is 6th dot. Okay. Now all these are ligands which are approaching along the axis. Who are they approaching? They are approaching the central metal atom. Okay. So the central metal atom initially has degenerate orbitals. What do you mean by degenerate? So I will say 3dxy, or I will simply say dxy, dyz, dzx, dx square minus y square, and dz square. These are the 5 which are at the same energy level. This energy level is known as Barry center. Okay, equal energy. Now tell me one thing: if these ligands are approaching along the octahedral, which orbitals will they repel more? The ones which are along the axis or the ones which are at an angle to the axis? The ones which are along the axis or the ones which are at an angle to the axis? Along the axis. So the ones which are along the axis will face more repulsion. Which are going to be the orbitals which are going to be along the axis? dz square and dx square minus y square, yes or no? So this is dx square minus y square and this is dz square, yes or no? Now since they are repelled more, they are known as Eg orbitals. Now since they are repelled more, I can say the energy is positive, it is higher than, so basically this is your energy as you are going up. So energy increases because they are repelled more. The other three are going to be at an axis. They are going to be relatively stable. So they are going to come lesser than the energy of barycenter. This is minus 2 by 5 delta naught. So now what I can say is, understand one thing, all these were at the same energy level. But now what has happened? I am just going to show you through a marker. There is a difference in the energy. Yes or no? There is a difference in the energy between these two. This difference in energy is known as delta naught. That is, there is a splitting between these two. So that is known as crystal field splitting due to octahedral compounds. What do you mean by crystal field splitting? The ligands are applying an electric field due to which the orbitals of the metal are, barycenter is just a reference, JB. So initially all these 5 assume them to be at barycenter. Some of them are now more stable, some of them are now less stable. So the energy difference between the Eg and T2g orbitals, right, is known as crystal field splitting. So basically now they are not degenerate. So if I ask you, these 3 will have a lower energy, these 2 will have a higher energy. The distance basically is delta naught. If I say this is plus 3 by delta naught, this is minus 2 by 5 delta naught. Now there is something which is known as crystal field stabilization energy. Now what do you mean by crystal field stabilization energy? It is N1 into minus 2 by 5 delta naught, N1 into minus 2 by 5 delta naught, plus N2 into plus 3 by 5 delta naught, N2 into plus 3 by 5 delta naught, where delta naught is the crystal field splitting. What is N1? N1 is the number of electrons present in T2g orbitals, N2 is the number of electrons present in Eg orbitals. So if I say there are 3 electrons in T2g and 2 electrons in Eg, I will say 3 into minus 2 by 5 delta naught plus 2 into 3 by 5 delta naught is equal to CFSE. So CFSE in this case is 0. CFSE, if it is negative, the compound is more stable. So if I am just going to write it here, CFSE negative implies compound is stable. Inverse proportional to number of compounds. So there are total number of orbitals are 5, 2 are up, so it is 3 into 2. It is inversely proportional to. So for example, there are 2 boxes here, right? So 2 is 3 by 5. 3 boxes here, so 2 by 5. That's how you need to remember it. Okay? Okay, AJ. Now how do I know the splitting? So have we done atomic structure? Can you tell me what is delta E? Delta E is equal to Hc by lambda. Yes or no? Delta E is equal to Hc by lambda. So lower is the lambda, higher is delta E. So what we have done is this delta naught is calculated by Hc by lambda only. So different lambdas are calculated and we came across this spectrochemical series. So if this delta is small, it is weak. If this delta is very huge, we'll come to it. Wait. We'll come to it. If this delta is very small, then the splitting is small. So that will be a weak field ligand. If this delta is very large, then the delta will be corresponding to a strong field ligand. So this is known as the spectrochemical series. This is experimental. Typically, if you ask me, halide donors are the weakest. Then there is oxide donor, then there is nitrogen donor, then there is carbon donor. I will just remove the negative sign so that you understand properly. Halide donors are the weakest, then oxygen donor, then nitrogen donor, then this. Now what you have to remember is the ones which are strong. So nitrogen, ammonia is basically strong as well as weak. So all these, remember only the strong ones. So which are the strong ones? Ammonia, pyridine, ethylene diamine, dipyridine, NO2 minus, cyanide and CO. The rest all are weak. Remember only this. So if I say strong field ligand, the distance between them is higher or the distance between them is smaller. If I say strong field ligand, SFL, weak field ligand, WFL. If I say strong field ligand, the distance is higher. Simple enough. Now why I am telling this to you? Suppose I give you a compound whose configuration is D1. Okay, so if I say these are the 3 boxes, these are the 2 boxes. If it is D1, can you tell me how the electron will be filled? Only this is the possibility, yes or no? Because it is irrespective of frequency, right? BP, it is irrespective of frequency. Number of lone pairs donated can be anything. Wavelength has to be different. Okay. If I say D1, this is the only possibility. So can I say that now these 2 boxes are empty? So I can say D2 sp3 will be formed because these inner D are available. Yes or no? So this is inner D orbitals being available. These are known as inner D. Yes or no? If I say D2, first electron, second electron, again inner D. D3, inner D. So if it is D1, D2, D3, you will always have inner D. Yes or no? So there is no issue at all. So you will always have D2 sp3. If I take, so this is D1, D2, D3. If I take, let's say I take D8, okay? So let's fill the electrons. 1, 2, 3. If pairing occurs, then 4, 5, 6, then 7 and 8. Suppose pairing is not occurring, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then I come down 6, 7, 8. In both the cases, I will get the same compound. Yes or no? Will these inner D be available? No, they are not available. If I say D9, what will happen? You will have 1 electron here. If I say D10, 1 electron here. So in all these cases, can I say D8, D9, D10, the inner D is not available? So I will have an outer D. What do you mean by outer D? sp3, D2. So if I have D8, D9, D10, I will have sp3, D2. Simple enough. Now comes the tricky case. So I am saying D4, D5, D6 are basically danger zone. Okay, now let's solve for D4. So D4, 1, 2, 3. Now there are 2 energies. This difference is known as delta naught. And let's say the energy required to pair is P. So if this distance is smaller, the electron can jump. So if the delta naught is less than the pairing energy required, this will jump. When will be the delta naught smaller? For weak field ligand, for strong field ligand? For weak field ligand, delta is smaller. So if we have a weak field ligand, it will jump. So in this case, I will not have any inner D available. So it will be sp3d2. Yes or no? Because I need 2 inner Ds too. There's only 1 box which is empty now. However, if I say 1, 2, 3 and the ligand is such that this distance is huge and pairing is easier, so it will pair. So now I have this box empty, this box empty. So this will be D2 sp3. So depends on whether you have strong field ligand or weak field ligand, you will have a different hybridization. Similarly for D5, if it is a weak field ligand, it will be sp3d2. If it is a strong field ligand, D2 sp3. Similarly for D6, weak field ligand sp3d2, strong field ligand D2 sp3. Again sp3d2, D2 sp3. One thing which you need to remember is D7 with a strong field ligand is a special case. I am writing D7 plus SFL is a special case. Why? So for example, cobalt with ammonia, ammonia acts as a strong field ligand here. So cobalt is in +2, cobalt +2 is argon 3d7. So it is D7 with a strong field ligand. So I write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now pairing will occur. I need the inner orbitals to be there. So I want this empty, 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 I want this empty. So this is D2 sp3. Now 1 electron is jumping from here to here. So this shift occurs. That is the reason it is known as a special case. Simple enough. This will only happen with D7 SFL. Because if it is weak field, then delta is smaller, right? AK, there are 2 possibilities. Either this energy difference is small or this energy difference is big. If it is a weak field, then this energy difference is small because wavelength is less. That is what spectrochemical series experimentally is. Consider there is a ladder. If the ladder is short, you can jump easily. So if the ladder is short, you can jump easily. When will the ladder be short? When the energy difference is small. When will the energy difference be small? When it is a weak field ligand. Simple enough. If the ladder is long, that means delta E is high. Delta E corresponds to a strong field ligand. So when is the strong field ligand present? Which is basically according to spectrochemical series, the ones in blue. Simple enough. Yes or no? So if I increase this distance, delta naught is greater than pairing energy. If I decrease the distance, delta naught is less than pairing energy. Simple enough. If the distance is small, I can jump. Distance is high, I cannot jump, I will pair. Simple enough. If I ask you to find the CFSE in this case, can you find the CFSE in this case? What will be the value of CFSE? It will be 3 into minus 2 by 5 delta naught plus 1 into 3 by 5 delta naught. If I ask you CFSE in this case, it will be 3 into minus 2 by 5 plus 2 into 3 by 5. If I ask you CFSE in this case, it will be 4 into minus 2 by 5 plus 0 into 3 by 5. So you can find CFSE in all the cases. Simple enough. So unlike VBT, you can comment on the stability of compounds as well. Yes or no? Yes or no? So in short, we only have to look at the danger zones, because if it is D1, D2, D3, we can say hybridization is sp3 is D2 sp3 always. If it is D8, D9, D10, I can say it is sp3 D2 always if it is coordination number 6. But if it is coordination number 6 and it is D4, D5, D6, D7, it is danger zone. In danger zone, look at the ligand. If it is strong field ligand, pairing will happen. If it is weak field ligand, pairing will not happen. Simple enough. Okay. Which of the following statement is correct? Can you solve this question for me? Can you solve this question for me now? Take your time. It is more than one correct. ACD, okay. DK has written the answer as ACD, okay. Aman, okay, sorry Aman. So basically this is a compound which is D1, D3, yes, so it has to be D2 sp3, this is correct. This is the compound in which it is weak field ligand. So what will happen? Will inner D be available? No. And basically this compound is D7, so you have to look at the weak field or strong field ligand. Snehanjali, A also is the answer, right? B is not the answer. It will be sp3d2. If I look at this compound COF6 3 minus, it is cobalt plus 3. Cobalt plus 3 is D6. D6 you have to look at strong or weak. This is weak. So if it is weak field, what I can say? No pairing occurs. So sp3d2 correct. Similarly, strong field, it's a Locha case. It's a danger case. If it is a danger case, D6 is a danger case. Yes, I will see with cobalt. This is a strong field ligand. Pairing will occur. D2 sp3. Finish. Yes or no? Can you solve this question for me now? This is a strong field ligand. Can you solve this question for me? I will just write the formula of CFSE. CFSE is equal to minus 2 by 5 delta naught into N1, where these are the number of electrons in T2G, plus 3 by 5 delta naught into N2, where these are the number of electrons in EG. Can you solve this question for me now? Quickly. B. Okay. So first of all, ethylene diamine is neutral, so chromium is present in plus 3. So it is argon 3d5 4s1. So this will be 3d3. Yes or no? So if it is 3d3, can I say there are 3 boxes, there are 2 boxes, first electron, second electron, third electron. So can I say CFSE is minus 2 by 5 delta naught into 3, because there are no other electrons. So can I say it is minus 6 into 5, so basically minus 1.2 delta naught. Simple enough. Yes, Aman, now you are right. A lot of people gave the right answer. Yes, NA, you are correct. If I now switch, okay. If I now switch, what is happening? Let's understand. So this is y-axis. Let's say this is x-axis. This is y-axis. This is z-axis. Now there are 4 ligands which are the point charges which are approaching, and they are approaching along a tetrahedral. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You just need to remember the strong ones. The rest all are weak. Remember only this thing Na. There are only 5, 6 strong ones. Okay? You don't need to remember the table for weak and strong. Okay? So if it is a tetrahedral ligand which is approaching, basically there are 2 types of d orbitals. One which are along the axis and one which are at an angle to the axis. Which of the orbitals will now be repelled more? Which of the orbitals will now be repelled more? Ones which are along the axis or ones which are at an angle to the axis? Ones which are along the axis or the ones which are at an angle to the axis. So basically this is the tetrahedral. Tetrahedral is at an angle of 109 degree 28 minutes. So at an angle AJ, bilkul, that's perfectly right. Yes. So which of the d orbitals are at an angle of 45 degree? dxy, dyz, dzx. So they will be now repelled more. So if I talk about energy like this, if I call this as dxy, dyz and dzx, which are nothing but the T2G orbitals, now they will be repelled more. And this is dx square minus y square, and this is dz square. So now it is just flip. So here these are 3, so basically this will be 0.4 and these are less, so it will be minus 0.6. Why it is minus? Because now it is more stable compared to these other ones. So these are basically for tetrahedral complexes. Okay. Now for coordination number 4, tetrahedral is one of the case. You also have another case which we are going to study, okay, which is square planar. So if I ask you CFSE, CFSE in this case will be minus 0.6 into delta T into N1, where N1 are the number of electrons in EG, plus 0.4 into N2 into delta T, where this is number of electrons in T2G. Yes or no? Now this delta T, which is the splitting, okay, between the energy difference between T2G and EG is known as delta T because it is crystal field splitting in tetrahedral complexes. This splitting is much less than delta naught or octahedral complex. It is 4 by 9 for two reasons. A, in this case there are 4 ligands, in that case there were 6 ligands, so the factor of 2 by 3 is due to number of ligands. 4 by 6 is nothing but 2 by 3. Another factor is there all the ligands were directly approaching. Now all the ligands are not directly approaching, they are approaching at an angle to the orbitals. So 2 by 3 due to approach, due to which this distance is always going to be much smaller than delta naught. Simple enough. So I can say if there is a ladder, the ladder in general is much lesser in this. So it is easier to jump. Simple enough. Yes or not? So to find hybridization in these cases, there are few rules which we need to follow. First, if Z is very high for coordination number 4, for example PtCl4 2 minus, PdCl4 2 minus, platinum, palladium, extremely high Z, they will always have a very strong attractive force to pair up, and they will always end up in DsP2 or square planar, always. You don't need to calculate anything. You can simply say Z is very high, answer will be square planar, but only for coordination number 4. Otherwise, for weak field ligand, no pairing, sp3. For strong field ligand, pairing, dsp2. Let's check. Example, I take NiCl4 2 minus. Cl is a weak field ligand. Ni2 plus is argon 3d8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Chloride, no pairing. So basically it will be sp3. So this is sp3, no pairing. But instead of chloride, if I take cyanide, it's a strong field ligand. So for strong field ligand, what will happen? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pairing will occur. So I will have one box empty here. So this will be D, this will be S, and these will be P2. So this will be DsP2. So basically this will be tetrahedral and this will be square planar. Simple enough. If I take NiCO4, nickel is 0. So it is argon 3d8 4s2. So it is a strong field ligand. So all the electrons will pair up. So this is completely filled now. So instead of a strong field ligand, you will have sp3 because there are 10 electrons in this case. Simple enough. If I take square planar complex, okay, what does a square planar complex look like? So basically it is octahedral minus 2 edges. Yes or no? So basically this is a square planar. So let's say this is a metal. The square planar means there is one ligand approaching from this plane, one approaching from this plane, one approaching from this plane, one approaching from this plane, and they are approaching along the axis. Yes or no? So basically it is very similar to what EG and T2G is there, first of all in octahedral. Yes or no? It is like octahedral only because if I remove the two axes, I will just be remaining with a plane, and that is nothing but square planar. Yes or no? So I start with the 4 ligands approaching along a square plane like an octahedral. Now there is further splitting. What do you mean by further splitting? Further splitting means this dx square minus y square is in the same plane along the axis. It will be repelled more. Dz square will be repelled less. dxy will be significantly high because it is in the same, and dxy, dzx will be the least. Yes or no? So I don't need to remember this. Can I know one thing? That there is a huge difference between the energy of the last orbital and the first orbital. Yes or no? This is known as crystal field splitting. Crystal field splitting in square planar complex. Can I say that this square planar complex splitting will be higher? In fact, it is observed to be 1.3 times delta naught. So if I talk about the crystal field splitting energy, crystal field splitting energy, can I say square planar will be greater than octahedral will be greater than tetrahedral? Yes or no? So this is the common mistake. This is the right answer. What do people say? They say if it is coordination number 6, it is delta naught, it will be higher than coordination number 4. That will not be the answer. I will just give you a question, you will understand it. Can you solve this question for me? What is Wilkinson's catalyst? This is Wilkinson's catalyst. Rhodium, PPH3 thrice Cl. This is Wilkinson's catalyst. Can you solve this question for me now? The crystal field splitting or energy in the first case is delta 1, second case is delta 2, third case is delta 3. Can you tell me the answer to this question? Write the answer and then write your name also. AJ, your answer is D. What is your name, AJ? What is your name, AJ? Animesh. Good job, Animesh. Animesh has given the answer as D. Other people? So first of all, write the hybridization, write the coordination number. So if I take the first compound as delta 1, here the coordination number is 6. So delta 1 will be nothing but delta naught. Here the coordination number is 4 and it is a weak field ligand. So basically this is sp3. So basically here it will be delta T. Jawahar, answer is D. Okay. Here Z is very high and coordination number is 4. So I can say hybridization is DsP2. So here delta 3 will be delta Sp. So can I say delta Sp greater than delta naught greater than delta T? So can I say that delta 3 greater than delta 1 greater than delta 2? Yes or no? So this was the point I was trying to explain. Now it is clear to everyone? Yes or no? Can you solve this question for me? Can you solve this question for me? Hybridization of NiCO4 is sp3. Hybridization of CuNH3 2 plus is sp3. Hybridization of NiCl4 2 minus is sp3. Hybridization of NiCN4 2 minus is dsp2. Quickly. So NiCO4 I have already done. ACD. Jawahar is giving me the answer as ACD. Okay. Other people? Na, TT, AK. NiCO4 is this. So NiCO4 is sp3. Yes or no? NiCN4 2 minus is square planar. So it will be dsp2. And this will again be sp3. This is fine. This is correct. This is correct. And this is correct. Now listen to me properly. CuNH3 4 plus 2 plus is a special case. So here copper is in plus 2. So it will be argon 3d9. Now ammonia is a strong field ligand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I need one box to be empty because it is strong field ligand. So this will be dsp2. So how it will be dsp2? dsp2. So these are the electrons of ligands. So this is dsp2. Now there were 9 electrons. So one electron, just like in cobalt, here also one electron jumps. So this is a special case. So basically this is dsp2. So this is incorrect. Okay. Yes, it will jump. Yes, it will jump. Now at times they will ask you to find the magnetic properties of a compound. So these are the steps you should remember. First, find the coordination number. Second, write the hybridizations. Third, calculate number of unpaired electrons. And fourth, calculate magnetic moment as mu, which is under root of n into n plus 2 Bohr magneton. Now I will just do a question. Just have a look at it. You can write it down somewhere because you will be doing a question with me right now after this. Just write it down somewhere. Step 1, find coordination number. Step 2, write the hybridizations which are possible. I will say the possible hybridizations. Step 3, calculate the number of unpaired electrons. Step 4, calculate magnetic moment mu as under root of n into n plus 2. Have you written these steps? Always follow these steps. Otherwise, what will happen? You will do a mistake. I will tell you how. I will tell you why will you do a mistake. So everyone is ready? Should we start? Should we start? Everyone? Should we start? Okay, first question. FeCl6 4 minus is the question. Okay. What is the first step? First step is to find the coordination number. What is the coordination number? Coordination number is 6. If the coordination number is 6, what are the possible hybridizations? sp3d2 and d2sp3. Yes or no? Now Fe2 plus is there because this is in plus 2. I write the configuration argon 3d6. Now for coordination number 6, this is a danger zone because it is d6. Yes or no? So you have to look at the ligand. It is strong field or weak field. This is a weak field ligand. So will the pairing occur? No. So I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No pairing occur. So it will be sp3d2. Yes or no? So this is not there. This is the answer. Yes or no? Now can you calculate number of unpaired electrons? So if I calculate number of unpaired electrons, it is 1, it is 2, it is 3, it is 4. So if the number of unpaired electrons is equal to 4, can I say mu is equal to under root of n into n plus 2? That is root of 24. Simple enough. Simply follow the steps. Let's do another question. Let's say this is my question. Okay, this is question B. This is A. FeCN6 4 minus. So I write iron is plus 2. Fair enough. First step, coordination number 6. Okay. Coordination number 6. What is second step? Write all the hybridizations possible. What are the hybridizations possible? It can either be sp3d2 or it can be d2sp3. Yes or no? Third, it is Fe2 plus is d6. d6 is a danger zone. So I have to look at the ligand. If I look at the ligand, cyanide is a strong field ligand, so pairing will occur. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pairing occurs. It is inner D, so D2sp3. Can you tell me the number of unpaired electrons now? 0. If number of unpaired electrons is 0, mu is equal to 0. Yes or no? So one common mistake. Listen to me carefully now. If it is a strong field ligand, this mu is 0 in this case, but it will not be 0 always, even if pairing occurs. So what people do is they just look at the ligand. They just look at the ligand. They say it's a strong field ligand. They write the answer as 0, but that is not going to be the case always. I will show it to you. Okay, check this question. Is it a strong field ligand? Yes or no? Yes. What is the first step? Coordination number. What is the coordination number? 4. If it is 4, I have two options, dsp2 or sp3. Yes or no? Ammonia is a strong field ligand. So what will happen? Pairing will occur. One will jump. I will have dsp2. Third step, find the number of unpaired electrons. 1. Mu is equal to root 3. So this is dsp2. This will not be the answer. Yes or no? Now, even though it is a strong field ligand, is the answer 0? No, it is non-zero. So not in all the cases mu will be equal to 0 if it is a strong field ligand. So don't just blindly write, oh, it is a strong field ligand, the answer is 0. No. I think this is clear to everyone now. The simple thing is follow the rules. Okay, let's do this question. It's a strong field ligand, yes. Copper is in +1, yes. Copper is in +1. Coordination number 4. Coordination number 4. So the answer can be DsP2 or sp3. Now it is a strong field ligand, so I can say it will be DsP2. It will not be sp3. So pairing will occur 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Copper +1. This is the answer. Mu is equal to 0 because N is equal to 0. Simple enough. If I say CuCl4 2 minus, copper is 2 plus. It is weak field ligand. So coordination number 4, two possibilities, DsP2 and sp3, but it is a weak field ligand. So this is your answer, not this. sp3, no pairing happens. So basically it was going to be sp3. If no pairing happens, there are 9 electrons. There are only two cases, copper 2 plus with ammonia and cobalt 2 plus with ammonia. That's it. Okay, AK. These are the only two cases you should be worried about. I have covered both the cases now. Okay. So N is equal to 1, mu is equal to √3. Simple enough. Can you do this question for me now? Quickly. It is one or more than one correct. Quickly, fast. Yes. What is the answer? AK, JB, LI. So I can say it is coordination number 6. I will just write this is +3. So Fe +3 is nothing but, what is iron? Scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron. So it is D6. Right? So if I say first case Fe3 plus, it will be argon 3d5. In this case it is Fe2 plus. Fe2 plus will be argon 3d6. Again it will be Fe2 plus, and here it will be Fe3 plus, right? So if I say Fe3 plus, in the first case 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this will be sp3d2. So I will have 4 unpaired electrons in case A. So mu will be √24. So this is correct. If I take case B, this is case B. So I have, sorry, FeH2O6 3 plus. See, 3 plus is only 5 electrons. My bad. So 3 plus is only 5 electrons, right? So 5 electrons, N is equal to 5, mu is equal to √35. This is incorrect. If I take second case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, no pairing. So basically it will be again sp3d2 because it is weak field ligand. This is also weak field ligand. So here N will be equal to 4, mu will be equal to √24. This is incorrect. If I take third case, it is strong field ligand. So Fe2 plus, B is not the answer. No, it is not. Fe2 plus 3d6. Okay, pairing will occur. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So mu N is equal to 0, mu is equal to 0. This is correct. D option, Fe3 plus argon 3d5. Pairing will occur. I need 3 boxes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So n is equal to 1, mu is equal to root 3. So answer is C as well as D. Simple enough. So all these questions definitely will require practice. The idea was just to brush up the concepts of coordination compounds today. I hope you enjoyed the lecture. We will have one more lecture on Saturday, which will cover the second part of coordination compounds, which is going to be isomerism and the other things. What I want you to do is now understand a couple of things. You have to revise and come for the next class from NCRT. That is the first thing. You have to do your DPP and come. You have to revise the notes of the class which is given today. And last but not the least, you have to do the homework which is given in the notes today. So after every class, there's a practice which we all follow. We have to make a promise to each other that we will do our work properly. Okay, so I suppose all of you will be doing your work properly now. Yes or no? Oh, is it clashing with the class? Okay, I will speak to the team. Don't worry. Okay. Any which ways, I hope you enjoyed the lecture. Just make a quick promise that you will honor all the things which I have said. You will come prepared for the next class. You will revise all the concepts. You will do your DPP. You will do your homework. Make a promise quickly. Promise. NA made the promise. Other people, quickly make the promise and then we can rise and shine. Promise. Okay, guys. Lot of promises coming. I'll see you guys again. Till then, happy learning.